What's going on, Falcon fans? It's your boy Ricardo coming back at you with another video. So, guys, I took off just like the players took off. However, I wanted to come back a week early because I wanted to get back into the rhythm and start talking about Atlanta Falcons. I know you guys are excited by this 2025 season, and so am I. But while we've been going, it's a lot of stuff, a lot of noise around the Atlanta Falcons, and not a lot of positive noise, to be honest with you. You just hear it here and there and things like this. Of course, we saw the quarterback come out again, and we had to relive the Kirk Cousins saga. So we're definitely going to talk about that today. Going to talk about the national media. The disrespect that the national media, pretty much have for the Atlanta Falcons, and then the fact that we're probably like 9 days away from the start of training camp. We're going to talk about some storylines moving into the Falcons training camp starting next week. So, guys, I'm definitely happy to be back. Like I said, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. Hope you guys are ready and get ready to rumble because hopefully this will be an exciting season. Um, just a lot, of things um, transpired over the last 3 weeks we're going to talk about. So with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys are here to talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come here to hear me talk about, that's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, we're gonna get right into the first topic today, and I know you guys are so tired of talking about, um, our backup quarterback now, Mr. Kirk Cousins. But like I said, if you did not know the Netflix special, the quarterback came out with his second season. Of course, Kirk Cousins was in the first season, but he made a repeat appearance this year in the second season as well. His journey, joined the Atlanta Falcons and things like that. And we pretty much lived the whole thing, right? Of course, we didn't know the behind the scene things and the feelings and all that stuff, and how human these guys are and things like that. You get to see that, and for all intents and purposes, Kirk Cousin is a good individual guy. He's a good human being. So you're not gonna talk about his character and things like that, but football mentality. When we start talking about that, he can see the writing on the wall. Basically, we all know what happened in week 10 when he got hurt against the New Orleans Saints. And, he decided to take upon himself that he wasn't coming out. And, personally, as a, when you're an athlete, you can understand that, right? You can understand the fact that he did not want to, come out because he knew, now this 3 or 4 months removed from when it happened, when they drafted Michael Penix Jr. So we already knew what happened with that. First round pick, eighth overall. You know, they're already talking about he's the future. So, and then he probably seen in practice, in training camp, playing scout team and things like that. And he kind of can feel like if I come out this game, I'm probably not gonna get back in because Michael's gonna light it up, right? So he kind of tried to fight through the battles and things like that, which in turns, in my opinion, and I know a lot of you guys feel the same way. I think it ruined the Atlanta Falcons season for 2025. That, and you can call him selfish, if you want to, but in all intents and purpose, that's what happened, right? The bad quarterback play that happened after Kirk Cousins got injured. We can see it. We can see the writing on the wall. I mean, first of all, he wasn't 100% to start off with, coming off an Achilles, but then he started taking elbow and shoulder injuries, can't get the ball down the field and things like that. What's going on, Georgia Texas boy? Welcome back, man. Welcome back. Yeah, I'm back, man. I had to come back a week early, get myself back into the the swing of things before we get into training camp because I'm so excited about that. But we talk about Kirk Cousins again because the Netflix special came out, But well, so Kirk Cousins was already not in the best 100% because of the Achilles thing. That's why he had to kind of shape the offense around his abilities and his mobility and things like that. But we all remember what happened in October, right? Atlanta Falcons came out, hit the ground running. 6-3 to start the season. We all was high, right? We all remember the swag surfing and all that stuff in the stadiums and things like that. And Atlanta was living high, but it all fell apart because, and I really believe it's because his injury, right? But the fact that he decided to take it upon himself to not come out because he was looking over his shoulder. And like I said, I can understand that because if you're not getting probably not going to get back in once you put Michael in, and so but at the same time, man, it's a team sport and it's all about winning. And if you really really about winning, you should have let Michael come in, man. It's just that simple. And you don't know, maybe Raheem would have put you back in once you got 100% healthy. We just don't know what would happen. But the fact that you decided to not come out, right? You use the little Drew Brees quote where, don't ever let your backup see the field. I get it. And it happened to you. You was the guy that, took RG3 spot. So I understand. I understand. You look at what happened to Drew Brees, right? He never seen the field again in New England. He did go to Buffalo, but he never seen the field in New England again. So I understand, why he did what he did, but at the same time, as a fan, you know, we had an opportunity to go to postseason. We had a chance to outrun the South. The whole theme of 2024. That's what Raheem Morris came in and talking about. And it all went to shits because our quarterback played, and it kind of just took us back to the Terry Fontenot pretty much era in itself is the bad quarterback play, right? So and that's what we had. So we looking at Kirk Cousins, a lot of people want to feel bad for him. He had his wife on there so upset when she found out that he was getting benched and things like that. Like I said, that's the human element of it. But at the same time, you're a professional athlete. You got to perform, and it's not like they were paying you free money, right? You was getting paid 100 million guaranteed, so they paid you for your services. You just didn't deliver your services, and they they drafted your successor that was sitting behind you, and they felt like it was time because you was holding the team back. That Monday night football game against the Las Vegas Raiders was not good at all. A lot of people felt like maybe he should have been taken out before then, but Raheem Morris gave you the benefit of the doubt. 13-year pro, maybe you're going to work yourself out of it, and unfortunately, you just never did. And that 5 game span, one touchdown, 9 interceptions, just was not good enough, and that's where we are today. So um, I'm going to stop talking about Kirk Cousins. I know people, it's going to be the talk, especially amongst the national media, talking about Kirk Cousins all over again. We know that's going to be the case because we owe him $27 million, another $10 million next year. So it's probably going to be the talk all through the season, right? Until the Falcons get a trade, God forbid another quarterback get hurt, another team, then they'll have to go in and see can they build their need with Kirk Cousins. So we'll see what happens with that. But we're gonna move on from it. I'm tired of talking about Kirk Cousins. We had to talk about it because it was all the talk because of like I said, the Netflix series came back. But if you was a Falcon fan and you watched the entire season, you pretty much know how it all, you know, happened, right? Because you was there watching it the whole time. So you remember the good times. Like I said, they called it what Kirktober or whatever. How well he played during that time, and then the downward spiral what we seen after that, right? Starting um, with that Denver Broncos game, right? So probably starting with the Aints game, right? The Aints game where he took the injury, but we probably could have won that game still if Young Wei Koo makes some kicks. But then the Denver game, the Chargers game, it's just like I said, the Vikings game, and then that Vegas game where we did win, but it was just bad. So um and there you have it, guys. That's the Kirk Cousins stories. Like I said, we're gonna stop talking about it because at this point in time, we're tired of talking about it. And so, if you got anything else to say about Kirk Cousins, please put it in chat. Let me know what you guys think about that, and then we'll just keep on moving on. Um, Great Texas Boy says, "What's up, Ricondo, the Falcon family? New era is here. Atlanta Falcons will rise in 2025. Let's hope you are correct on that." All right, so let's go to my next topic, guys. Um, and the next topic is the national media disrespect. Right. So this is a broad topic here when I say about the national media. Right. So first of all, let's let's talk about why you know I took it upon myself to be an Atlanta Falcons content creator along with all the other guys that's out there. You know, shout out to all the other guys out there that talk about the Falcons, that love the Falcons like I do. You guys know who you are. Um, so shout out to all you guys first. But the reason why we started being a Falcon content creator because of the national media in itself, right? National media don't really talk about the Atlanta Falcons a whole lot. It's just the way it is, unless it's something negative, right? Um, and so I'm gonna get into that because it's some credence to that. They should talk about Atlanta Falcons in some aspects negatively, but for the most part, it makes it seem like Atlanta Falcons got a lot of scrubs on this team, and if you're a Falcon fan, you know that's just not to be the case, right? Um, we got, in my opinion, probably the best free safety in the game. We got a top 10 cornerback. We got a really great linebacker, Kay Nellis. We got probably one of the best running backs in um, in the league in Bijan Robinson. 1-2 punch with Tyler Algier is there. You know, we got probably one of the best offensive lines in the country. Um, so we got a lot of pieces on the Atlanta Falcons. We got one of the best young wide receivers in the league as well. And shout out to Garrett Wilson getting his contract. Falcons, you might have waited too long because Garrett Wilson, Drake London in the same draft, going to be looking at what Garrett Wilson got. So we'll see if you guys are trying to work something out with Drake now. So that's where it is. But you know, the Atlanta Falcons really does not get a lot of talk, right? They talk about Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, what they did last year, but Bijan Robinson was right behind those guys, like really, literally right behind those guys. And you look at a list about the best running backs in the league, and Bijan Robinson still not top three, and you be like, how is that possible? Because it's the national media. Like they don't look, they look at the record, right? They look at the Atlanta Falcons record, which is, you know, if you don't like it, do something about it, right? That's where it really boils down to. But at the same time, you would think being guys, pundits, and being experts and things like that, you look at the game as entirety and stop looking at clippets and records and things like that, and you could pick out some of the best players in the league. And if you look to the Atlanta Falcons, I just talked about some of the best players in the league, and they are on the Atlanta Falcons team. I'm just throwing it out there. We do have some of the best players in the league, right? So and they don't get talked about at all. Just don't. Right now, executives and coaches and teams, they know who they are, but from a national media standpoint, we don't get none of that. That's really what it boils down to. So, you know, the disrespect that I just kind of piss you off as a Falcon fan. Now, like I said, the Falcons got to go out and prove it, and not being in the playoffs for 7 years does not give me any right to come out and say they being disrespected because hey, they ain't did shit in 7 years, right? So it's last time they was in the playoffs. Almost going on 8 years. So I get it. I'm tracking, with the disrespect, so per se. But at the same time, right? They talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys ain't did shit either, right? And I understand they got a lot of clicks and they're supposed to be America's team, whatever. But they ain't did nothing either, man. They got the just as worse as be one of the worst teams in the league, just like Atlanta Falcons ain't did crap. So um, I just I just want to start off with that. Let's look at some of these comments first. Um, Prime King 64 said by October there will be no disrespect. Penny is like that. I know what I see. The team has also been made better. 12-5 in the playoffs. That's what I'm talking about. Um, get on here, folks. Like, comment, and that's what I'm talking about, man. Tell them, hey, that's right. Like, comment, and can subscribe. Go ahead and get on the channel. I've been on a hiatus for a couple weeks, so I know a lot of people didn't expect me to be back there, but I had to come back a week early, man. Got to get back into the rhythm, man. I've been gone so long, just like our boys out there getting it in, training and stuff like that. I took a break as well. All right, I didn't want to come over here and give y'all some fluff stuff and talk about lists and things like that because it could have, you know, the top 100 and where these guys got ranked and stuff like that. But I was watching, and that's why I'm on here now talking about the national media because it was disrespect going around, right? So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, we're going to start with our head coach, right? We're going to start Raheem Morris, right? However you feel about Raheem Morris in his first season, came in, we all felt like we should have made the playoffs, but I'm gonna tell you this: talking about the playoffs right now, and any team that does not have good quarterback play probably is not going to make the playoffs. When you turn over the ball and you don't score enough points, you're not making the playoffs, right? I don't care who your coach is. And that's where Atlanta Falcons have found themselves, you know, these last 4 or 5 seasons, right? It just the quarterback play has not been good enough. It's just that, and we look at the roster, and we get excited every year, and we think our quarterback play is going to be better. I mean, I remember Desmond Ritter first, you know, full year as a starter, and we was all excited about it, right? Um, because we had that 3 game stretch. Thought he was going to be better. Think he was going to have a whole off season to get in the rhythm and do his things. And the dude pretty much had a triple double, right? 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 12 fumbles, right? That's what Desmond Ritter did in his 1 year as a starter. And then he got bench, of course. So that's what Desmond Ritter did his 1 year as a starter, right? Then we get Kirk Cousins. We talk about Kirktober, what he was able to do and shine and things like that. And then the wheels fell off, right? So the quarterback play has not been good. It just not. And then, so you can look at the coaching staff, whatever. He made a mistake probably hiring Jimmy Lake, first time defense coordinator, because the defense strictly just fell apart, especially in those last 2 games where we was trying to push for the playoffs, right? That Commanders game was bad. It was really bad, but not as bad as the last game of the season against the Carolina Panthers. But that Commanders game was bad, right? I don't want to keep rehashing it, but I'm going to keep mentioning it because people talk about the timeout Raheem Morris didn't call in the fourth quarter, right? I get it. Blunder mistake. That was bad. But the fact that Atlanta Falcons had one possession in the third quarter because our defense could not get off the field. That's why we lost the game, in my opinion. We had another possession in the third quarter. Maybe we won't even have to go to overtime. Maybe Michael Penix get in rhythm and put those guys away. But we couldn't get the ball back, right? And then we didn't get a chance in overtime to get the ball back because they couldn't stop Jaden Daniels. The defense was just that bad. So Raheem Morris made a mistake hiring Jamie Lake. Let's just say that. But he's been labeled as underwhelming as a coach, right? On the list, the national list, he's 25th on that list right now out of 32 coaches, right? He's 25th, right? So right now, according to the national media, Raheem Morris is probably one of the worst coaches in the league, right? That's bottom half of the league. That's not in the middle, that's bottom half. So that's where they put Raheem Morris, right? Now, was he perfect last year? By any means, no, he was not, right? Some of his coaching decisions and things like that, especially like I said, everybody's gonna highlight the timeout. I still think I agree with everybody who mentioned that. Call that timeout, probably get in better field goal range, probably win the game in regulation, right? The Carolina game, Michael Penix throw a touchdown. It was always a Bijan. Now Bijan scored a touchdown, and we should have went for two, but we decided to kick a field goal, tie the game. Then we didn't get the ball back in second. So you can make decisions, but those head coaching decisions sometimes, and you have to live with the results sometimes. So that, but they're basically saying that he's one of the worst coaches in the league. So Raheem Morris has a lot to prove this year. Right now, we know he changed his coaching staff around a little bit. Got rid of defensive line coach Brad Nate Ali. Got brought Jeff Ulbrich in as his defensive coordinator. So it is some things to be positive about this year. That's going to be on up and up, as far as the coaching staff. But from a national media standpoint, they looking at Raheem Morris like he's in the bottom half of the league as coaches. It's just that bottom line. It's like 25th on the list. So that's not good. If you're looking at it from a national media standpoint, now if you're looking at it from a Falcons lens, like I look at things, right? Because I look at every game, I see everything they're talking about, look at the roster, and I look at it in a way where you have to look at things in context. And what I mean by that is that, like I said, the quarterback play. Because if you look at when we were 6-3, was that coaching as well, right? We started the season out the first 9 games, we were 6-3. So if you're going to give him credit for being 6-3 as a coach, um, or you're going to give him credit for going on that 4-game losing streak, you can give him credit for being 6-3 as a coach. I mean, that's just the way you have to look at it. But like I said, the quarterback play and the way the defense just start to play really bad towards the end of the season. Um, that's what I look at, you know, from a coaching standpoint. So I'm always going to look at the Falcons glass half full, because if I did look at the Falcons glass half full, I probably wouldn't be a Falcon fan, right? Because we had a lot of heartbreak over the years. But looking at Raheem Morris as a head coach, I really believe that at this point in time, the jury's still out. I agree. I don't think he's 25th though. Maybe in the middle of the pack, maybe 15, 16, 17, somewhere around that range. But he has to show something this year, and that's what it really boils down to, right? From a national media standpoint. So I don't know what you guys as Falcon fans think about Raheem Morris, but he's a middle of the pack coach, and he needs to do better this year. That's just the bottom line, right? Another thing that it came out, the Atlanta Falcons was graded one of the worst defensive lines going into 2025. One of the worst, right? Now, when you're looking at that, okay, they lost Grady Jarrett, right? We got a lot of young guys coming back. So when you're looking at it, as a being not have your Falcon glasses on, you say you can kind of see where they're coming from with that, right? Because a lot of these guys are unproven, right? They brought in Morgan Fox, David Amiyata coming back, but from that, those two veterans, everybody else is pretty young, right? You got Zach Harrison going into, his fourth season, third season. You got Root coming to second, Brandon Dorley's coming to second, Braden Trice coming back. We drafted 2 rookies in the first round on the edge. You did bring in Leonard Floyd, Armor Ebiketie going to his fourth season. So when you're looking at the defensive line, and those outside linebackers, it's a lot of youth and a lot of inexperience. So when you're looking at the Atlanta Falcons, when they say one of the worst defensive lines going to 2025, I say this is that it's an unproven. Now, this is where you said unexperienced and unproven is justified, right? So I can't really argue with that because we don't know what this defensive line going to be. We just don't know. That's what it boils down to. Um, there's a lot of young talent that's got to play. Raheem Morris going to have to do the job like he did when he was in Los Angeles with those young guys after um, Big Dude retired, right? Their Hall of Famer with the Rams retired. So that's what pretty much that's what Raheem Morris got to do. Got to do a really excellent coaching job, and this is where coaching plays a big role in this, right? I do believe that. Now I think the scheme that Jeff Albrecht, Nate Ali, textile defense, I think is going to help these young guys, take away some of their thought and just be able to react, and don't have to think a whole lot, just hit the gap they need to hit, get up the field, stop the run on the way to the quarterback. That's what they need to do. So we're definitely going to be able to see what this defensive line going to do. But being rated one of the worst defensive lines, I can't knock it because, be honest with you, it's an experienced defensive line. Do I believe they're going to be the worst? No. I think we got to see what these guys made of. I can't be like 100% say they're gonna be great because we ain't seen it yet. But um, we're gonna see. This is where Terry Fontenot and his being able to pick draft picks. This is when it's going to show right here this year because these guys, the guys that in the last 2 years is where Terry Fontenot and his guys drafted. We're going to see what they're all about. So that's where it boils down to. All right. Another thing, of course, the collusion, right? And the collusion, the Atlanta Falcons always in the middle of something, right? So, of course, we know a couple of years ago, the Atlanta Falcons um, was the first team to come out on a record and say they're not going to pursue Lamar Jackson, right? At the time I defended them. And I still believe this to today. I don't believe the Baltimore Ravens was ever going to let Lamar Jackson. What's going on, T. Terry? I never believed that the Baltimore Ravens was going to let Lamar Jackson go. Right? So I thought it would have been a waste of time to offer Lamar Jackson a contract. I really do. But the fact that Atlanta Falcons was one of the first teams to come out to say that they weren't going to pursue him, a lot of people around the league felt like it was collusion. And with that being said, Arthur Blank had had to actually testify about that, about what why the Falcons decided not to pursue Lamar Jackson, right? And he talked about his contract and his injuries and things like that. But honestly, I just believe that in my hearts of hearts that the Baltimore Ravens was not letting Lamar Jackson out. That's just my opinion. But if they found that teams was really colluding, that's not good for the league, and that's in Falcons included, right? No, is nobody as a Falcon fan would never say that we did not want Lamar Jackson. I just felt like Baltimore Ravens was not letting Lamar go, and I felt like they was using, that free agents because they put him as a free agent tender, right? So you had to give up if you did sign Lamar, you had to give up 2 first-round picks, and then you was holding up your salary cap as well because you was waiting to see if the Baltimore Ravens was going to match the offer that you put in because they couldn't match it, right? So I just feel like um, maybe they should have just called and see what put an offer in and see. Maybe they wouldn't have been on the hook for it, but at the same time, I believe that Lamar wasn't leaving Baltimore. I believe he wasn't leaving Baltimore. So I really believe that. And I know a lot of people feel like maybe because Deshaun Watson got that guaranteed contract, Lamar was looking for that. Um, and I don't think he was. I think he got what he deserved. It was a really good contract, and he had an MVP season too. So I get it. Maybe the Falcons should have came out and said that they was pursuing Lamar Jackson, then they wouldn't have had to be in, this situation, or our owner testifying saying um, that they were the reason why they didn't try to pursue Lamar Jackson. And I'm pretty sure if you look at not just the Lamar Jackson thing, but it's probably some other things maybe that the NFL colluded in specific. You think about Shadur Sanders, right? Um, going all the way to the fifth round, and if you're a real scout, football scout, um, a young quarterback who has never got in trouble, you know, won the Johnny Unitas Award, had the best completion percentage in college, and went all the way in the fifth round. That seemed like collusion as well, right? So, and a lot of people say maybe it did to itself or whatever, but maybe that's some of the things that they need to look into, because things like that does seem like collusion when you start thinking about, you know, everybody banding together and be like, we're gonna got a point to prove. We're never getting a guaranteed contract again. So they Browns, you gave Deshaun Watson one. Lamar Jackson, I hope you don't think you're getting one, because it's not happening. And guess what? No quarterback has got a guaranteed contract since, right? So, right, not for that much money. I think we have seen guaranteed contracts. I mean, Kirk Cousins got a guaranteed contract when he went to the Minnesota Vikings, but it was only for like 82 million. So that's the difference. But 230, I think it was 230 guaranteed million for Deshaun Watson, and they got like 80 something $1 million. So, I don't think that the owners didn't want to go down that path again. So that's where you look at the national media, the disrespect, and maybe we put ourselves in that in that lane to be talked about from a national media standpoint, because we, the Atlanta Falcons, were the first team to come out and said they were not going to pursue Lamar Jackson, and everybody felt like it would have been a perfect destination for Lamar Jackson to go. Um, and we saw what happened. Desmond Ritter came in, played like crap, and maybe we looked dumb all the way around. All right. The last thing we'll talk about from the national media standpoint is records. Predicted records for the season. And I have seen about 3 predicted records, and every last one of them had the Atlanta Falcons going 8-9 on the season, right? So nobody have the Atlanta Falcons winning more than 8 games. Now I'm pretty sure some people out there believe in the Falcons from a national media standpoint. But what's going on, T. Terry? What's going on, Paul? But I believe that the disrespect for the Atlanta Falcons going 8-9 is it's just crazy to me, man. Um, and at the end of the day, guys, it's really all about the Atlanta Falcons defense and Michael Penix Jr. Right. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, right, Michael Penix Jr. played 3 games last year. Right. He had 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. If you never watched the Atlanta Falcons play, you say he wasn't really that good because he had 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and they went 1-2. Right? That's what Michael Penix's record looked like on his 3 starts. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They went 1-2. But if you watch the game, you like what you saw from Michael Penix Jr. 2 of the games went in overtime. 2 of the games he came from behind to put the Atlanta Falcons overtime. 2 of the games he didn't have a chance to get the ball back in his hands in overtime. Those are 2 games he lost. He was able to put both of those games and both of those teams on his back and go to and force the game into overtime. Both teams, both games, right? Um, that's what we seen as Falcon fans. So when you take that and you look at the potential of what this offense be when he, Drake London, Bijan Robinson all had career day last game of the season when the Atlanta Falcons really had something to play for because they had still had an opportunity to go to the postseason, right? Um, you got to like what you've seen from an offensive standpoint. You really do, and you got to have some kind of upside of what you've seen out of Michael Penix Jr. It's just the bottom line. You have to like what you've seen from him. So, you know, from an offensive standpoint, the Atlanta Falcons have a really great opportunity to have a really good season this year from offensive side of the ball. Right, we're bringing back everybody except our center, Drew Dalman. Right, got his big contract with the Chicago Bears. But Ryan Newsel started for 8 games last year. Right, and he was fine. I'm not gonna say he was completely 100% what Drew Dalman was, but he was just fine. The rest of the offensive line is intact. We're talking about a top 5 offensive line in the league. Um, they probably are masters in the wide zone scheme right now because they've been together so long. Um, so, with that being said, the Atlanta Falcons offense should be better this year. The fact that Michael Penix Jr. is going to be able to open up the offense, do some of the things that Kirk Cousins was not able to do because of his mobility, the fact that his arm strength, one of the quarterbacks who had the most big play throws in his 3 games that he played last year. So when I came out and said about Raheem Morris, I'm saying the same thing right now. The record is all going to depend on how our quarterback plays. It's just as simple as that. Now, let's talk about the defensive side of the ball, right? We all know the defense was not good, right? It was 31st in sacks again. Matter of fact, the Atlanta Falcons probably been bottom of the board the last 10 seasons in sacks. It's just that simple. Now, they did have a pretty good season the year before, right? They ended up like 41, 42 sacks, which they was like 21st, 22nd in the league. Um, but they can be better. They can definitely be better than that. And hopefully they can. It's just that simple. Hopefully they can be better um, than they have been. So, from a defensive standpoint, right, the Atlanta Falcons definitely 100% invested in the defense this year, right? They saw, the shortcomings. First of all, they got a new defensive coordinator, right? They got a new defensive line coach. That's the change they made from the staff, right? I came out right after the season. I said the Atlanta Falcons need to have, a 35 to 40% turnover on the defense, right? We did lose Grady Jarrett, but we drafted 2 first-round picks as pass rushers, right? We got 2 young defensive backs that I think is going to be able to um, play a significant role in defense this year. DeMarco Hellams is coming back. We picked up a long-rangey linebacker who fits the mold of what Jeff Albrecht want to do from sideline to sideline. In Divine Diablo, we brought in a really good, solid veteran in Morgan Fox. Signed Leonard Floyd to help these young, talented pass rushers that we got out of the draft, develop their craft. We got Armor Ebiketie coming back in his contract year. Caden Ellis is only going to get better. We know what Jesse Bates all about. And then we got AJ Terrell, um, who had a really, really good season last year, along with Mike Hughes as well. So the defense should be better this year. I'm gonna just say that they are developing a new scheme. They're going to go to their wide nine. They're going to go to the um, attack style defense, right? Getting up the field, being aggressive. We're definitely going to see how much more zone, how much more man they're going to play. And they're going to simplify the defense where these guys just go out and play fast and physical. Yes, going back to old Dan Queen saying, right? But that's the whole ideal of the defense. So with those changes on defense and with what the Atlanta Falcons should be able to do on offense because of better quarterback play, from a sustainment standpoint, because Kirk Cousins was really good in the first half, right? But we want to be able to be good, be at least can be consistent throughout the season. So that's where we want to go. So, people picking the Atlanta Falcons to be 8-9, I think they're selling them short. And I get it because you got a young quarterback who only had 3 starts. You just looking at records. You probably haven't sit down and watched the Atlanta Falcons play. You probably question some of the moves the Atlanta Falcons made from a draft standpoint. Coming back into the first round of the draft and going to get another pass rusher, but they got to get it fixed, guys. We got to be able to start to rush the passer. It's going to be really important for us to start the run as well. So that's what it's going to be about this year. But from a national meter standpoint, right, going 8-9, I think is really disrespectful. And at least give us 2 more wins, man. Put us at 10, right? Do that, right? 8-9 is just disrespectful, man. But it really boils down to the quarterback play. And if Michael Penix Jr. does what he's supposed to do, we ain't gonna have to worry about the whole 8-9 record. So we got Parametric said Drew Brees was in New England. Drew Bledsoe was in New England. And then he got hurt. Drew Bledsoe was in New England and he got hurt. And that was the story of Tom Brady. Because Tom Brady got in and he never gave back up the spot. And I think that's what Kirk Cousins worry was all about. Got hurt, gave up the spot, never seen the field again. At least, in a New England uniform. He did go to Buffalo, however, and he played decent, right? But his injury created the so-called GOAT in Tom Brady. All right, guys, if you got any more national media disrespectful things, let me know. Put it in the chat. Let me know what you think. Once again, please go out, like, share, and subscribe, all those good things. I'm back, trying to get back in the groove of things. And I know I'm probably all over the place today, but that's good, right? I got to get back in the swing of things, right? All right, so the last topic we'll talk about today, guys, is just some upcoming storylines for camp. Starting next week, right? Camp, the guys report in on the 23rd. And then the first open practice, guys, is going to be on the 24th next week. So I know you guys are excited about that. So get ready for that. But some upcoming camp storylines, right? And I'm going to start off with our center. Let's just start off with that, right? Talk about Ryan Newsel coming in. He's the projected starter, right? Took out a contract. Guy that got married this summer. Congratulations on that. So, but you got to come out. He's the story because he's the one guy that does not have, that continuity coming back on the offensive line. So the first storyline I want to talk about is him. They pretty much put him the de facto starter, right? Like he don't have any competition behind him. So, it's going to be make or break for Ryan Newsel. I know they believe in him as an undrafted guy come in, been with the program for a while. So we're going to see what Ryan Newsel is going to be able to do. But that's probably my first storyline to see if he holds up and they don't have to go out and try to get another center to create some competition there. Speaking of competition, another storyline is the kicker position with Craig coming in and going up against Younghoe Koo. Listening to Maurice Williams, he's saying that Younghoe Koo, looking back, he's 100% healthy. Hopefully that's what it was, right? Before last year, Younghoe Koo was one of the most accurate kickers in NFL history, right? Can't say that anymore. We missed 12 kicks last year, which is unacceptable for Atlanta Falcons. So the storylines is the special teams, the kicking game, got to get better. We need to be able to see that. Storyline is the nickel position. Another storyline is the nickel position. Who's going to win that? It's going to be D'Arford coming back. It's going to be what is his name? I can't think. Sorry guys, it's been out for a while. But our young safety we drafted out of Oklahoma, going up against Clark Phillips the third, right? Which one of those guys is going to actually win um, the nickel position? We got Kobe Bryant, undrafted guy. Been practicing a lot. I seen him out there practicing with some veterans in NFL, getting ready for the starting the camp as well. See if he can make the squad. Um, Also, another storyline. Troy Anderson is a storyline. Is he going to come back healthy? He's going to start training camp off, healthy. And see can he stay healthy. Kyle Pitts, another guy. Um, we haven't heard from him from a while. He was out as well doing OTAs and mandatory minicamp. Um, who else out there? Armor Ebiketie, right? Is this going to be his year? He's going to have a finally breakout season, right? Braylon Trice, what he's going to look like. Him and Brandon Dorless, who didn't really get a lot of playing time. Can Rook Aurora take over that role that Grady Jarrett had for 10 years here at the Atlanta Falcons and Mr. Falcon himself? So those are the storylines. We're definitely going to get into it more next week. But I just wanted to start getting you guys previews and getting you ideas of what we're going to start talking about next week. Kind of excited that we're going to finally get to see what these young guys could do with pads on, especially the line of scrimmage, right? Um, I think one of the biggest storylines going to be is preseason. We know Raheem Morris does not like to play his guys during preseason, even though he has a lot of young guys that probably needs to play. So that's going to be interesting to see what Raheem Morris do. I know we're having um, joint practices with teams, and they think they get a lot of it out of that. So maybe they feel like they don't need to play guys in preseason because they go kind of hard at it, in training camp, in the joint practices, but you still don't take guys to the ground. So I don't know if I would be comfortable with that, but we know Raheem Morris said he pretty much that's his philosophy. So we'll just definitely got to see, what's that look like. So um but there you have it, guys. A lot of storylines coming up. I know you guys are excited. You probably got more storylines you want to talk about. If you do, let me know, and we'll talk about it next time we come on the show. But there you have it, guys. I've been rambling for about 48 minutes, and I don't know if I said anything. To be honest with you, because like I said, I'm getting back into the swing of things. I was just going off my head about what I seen the last, 3 weeks or so, um, from everybody talking about our Atlanta Falcons. But we're gonna get back into the swing of things. Our guys are going to be back here next week. But I will be back on Wednesday. Like I said, I'm getting back into the swing of things. So please tune in on Wednesday. Come back in for another Falcons fan talk, and we'll be able to chat it up again. So there you have it, guys. Your boy Ricondo is back with another video. Peace.